Welcome to UPSC CSE Mains 2024 essay paper discussion for the Institute of the Study. This is Professor Dr. Beerendra Pandey standing before you to flesh out the questions that have been asked in the GS paper this year. So let's have a look at the questions first. The first question, as you see, it forests precede civilizations and deserts follow them. जंगल सभ्यताओं से पहले आते हैं और रेगिस्तान उनके बाद आते हैं. तो यदि हम इस स्टेटमेंट को देखें तो सीधी सी चीज जो हमको दिखाई देती है कि इसमें बाइनरी अपोजिशन है. That binary opposition is in between the forest, that is in between the forest versus deserts. The binary opposition is in between the word forest and desert, and the key word is the verb precede. This is the key word. And what is the binary opposition? What is the opposite word of precede? Precede is follow. This is the opposite word, follow. So deserts follow something and forests also precede something. What is that something? That something is the most important keyword, and that is civilization. This is why I am writing it in capital letters, right? So before civilization there were forests. After civilization forests are gone. Now we have deserts, right? So whenever you get a question, this is how you should begin to understand it first. So as you have understood this question this way, now exercise your mind and try to make a connection with the subjects that you have studied for your entire UPSC, right? So don't you think this is related to environmental ethics, right? You think that environment and climate change, it is related to that. So keep that in mind. But also, because it is written in language, so also think it a little bit differently also. So there is a way of saying something, particular way of saying something. That way of something gives us an idea about the tone. So let's try to figure out the tone. Let's go back to the question. Forests precede civilizations and deserts follow them. So what do you think is the tone? Is the question critical of the developments that have happened after the advent of civilization, right? You think, right? The statement is critical of that, critical of post civilization developments which have led to desertification. So if the tone is critical is critical on this side, is critical over here. If you think that the tone is critical over here, what about here? Pre-civilization status. So, when civilization was not there, if this statement is critical of things transpiring after civilization, right? What could be the tone about things before the civilization? That is nostalgia, nostalgic, we say nostalgic or nostalgia, right? That state is no more, but we still, we want that it would have been better if it could have been there, right? So, overall, what idea do you get? Overall, the idea that you get is that this statement on the one hand appreciates pre-civilization state when there were plenty of forests, woodland, right? And if it is appreciative of that, it is critical of what? It is critical of civilization which over the period of time resulted into modernity and has now culminated into post-modernity, right? On the surface it seems as if our life has become much better, much easier than the life when people were living in primitive state, right? We think that our life, the quality of our life has undergone a sea change because of the post civilization developments resulting into modernity and currently culminating into post modernity, right? A lot of urbanization, technology, this and that and that and that, right? But don't you think that the statement, once you have also understood the tone, tells us that it is at a great cost, and the cost is too great, because this easy life that we have got is at a very, very great cost. What that cost? It is the cost of desert. Just think of Rajasthan. Rajasthan has yes, the largest area of desert, but do you know these deserts happened later or were there before? Yeah, it happened over the period of time because of what? Because of human activities. Yeah, what we take pride into as civilizational that we human beings exert, right? So, because of those human activities, once green verdant place, right, turned into desert. So, now your ideas are very clear, right? So, what is the emphasis of this statement? The emphasis of this statement is on the environmental consequences of human activity. And like the rest of the world, India is also no exceptions. And forests in India have always held very high importance. Do you know what do we call forests in Sanskrit? In our Vedas and scriptures, what is it called? It is called Aranya. Aranya means sacred space, right? So forest to us have an aura of divinity. हम लोगों के लिए हमारे कल्चर में हमने जंगलों को यह सेक्रेट माना है, देवत्व का वास समझते हैं हम लोग, उसमें देवी देवताओं का वास समझते हैं उसमें। हमारे जितने बड़े बड़े जो रिलीजियस फिगर्स हैं उनका ऑर्डियल अग्नि परीक्षा कहाँ हुआ? जंगल में, है ना। तो जंगल हमारे लिए बड़ा पवित्र प्लेस रखता है, ठीक है। और हिस्टोरिकली यदि देखें तो एक हिस्टोरिकल फिगर थे बहुत बड़े, अशोका जी। अशोका ने एनवायरमेंटल कंजर्वेशन लॉज उस जमाने में पास किया था। ही हैड पास्ड कंजर्वेशन लॉज, एनिमल्स शुड नॉट बी किल्ड, green, live, trees should not be cut down in the name of firewood, those kind of things. So environmental, our attitude, historically our attitude to environmental preservation has always been there, but things started changing, and changing very badly during the colonial rule, British colonial period, 1757 particularly, in between 1757 to 1947, when the Britishers were on a rampage to whatever they can loot from India. Right. Then what they did was that they basically started plundering the wildlife and killing, miles and miles and miles and miles of jungles, forests, for their own colonial benefit. Do you know the name of Amitabh Ghosh? Are you familiar with his name, Amitabh Ghosh? Let me tell you about him. He was professor of anthropology at Delhi University. He is currently not in the teaching profession. He is a literature, sahityakar hai, and he is one of the leading writers in English today from India. Recently he has written 2 books, The Derangement, The Human Derangement, and there is another book, अरे उसको क्या बोलते हैं जी, गरम मसाला में होता है, Nutmeg, The Nutmeg Curse. He has written 2 books, The Nutmeg Curse and The Human Derangement. In both these 2 books, he shows the nexus between environmental degradation in India and colonial greed to make more and more money, to take more and more money out of India, right? And the model that they left, the Britishers left, that model wants us to what? Wants us to treat that very path, right? So just look at, in the name of roads and transportation and this and that and that and that, what we have done to Uttarakhand. Like some 6-7 years back, when it rained like cats and dogs, what happened to the, right? So many people were killed, very killer landslides. Just this year in Wayanad, in Kerala. Just see what happened, right? So the model of development that the Britishers left, right, that model has also contributed in India to a lot of deforestation, and currently that can be seen in unpredictable weather pattern, wreaking a havoc of its own kind. I have already talked about the Rajasthan desert, and also the Western model of building metropolises, cosmopolises, urbanization, monster or urbanizations. During the Modi era, we hear the phrase smart cities, right? So this unchecked urbanization, that has it is what had led to desertification, over agricultural activities and urban activities in Rajasthan, that had led to the rise of the Thar desert, right? And we haven't learnt a good lesson from that, and we are currently engaged in such activities which are going to lead us to a doomsday situation. Like, in one way, the Indira Gandhi Canal is a very good idea, in one way, because in those desert areas we can grow what? We can have agricultural activities. मगर दूसरे एंगल से देखिए तो वो खराब भी है. खराब इसलिए है कि क्या हो रहा है, what is happening? Salinization. पानी में नमक आ रहा है वहां. Salinization and soil degradation is happening. So whatever arable land is there, that arable land will lose the power to produce. Therefore, and this is the situation, like in where in Odisha, in Madhya Pradesh and in Chhattisgarh, where there are still some forest covers, but those forest covers are becoming lesser and lesser in size. So if things are like that on the one hand, but there are also beacons of lights on the other hand. In the 1970s, a movement started in India. That is, what is that called? That is called the Chipko movement, right? The Chipko movement. That movement, which was started in Uttarakhand, was primarily to save forests, right? And today, even the government of India is seized of the need to spread awareness about maintaining ecological balance. So these are some of the good things that are happening. The government has taken a very good initiative like Green India Mission. So that's a very good thing. So this quote overall is a reminder of the long-term environmental impact of human activities, and it alerts us to the dangers of a dystopia. Civilization always gave us an idea of an utopia, right? But ironically, that utopia has now turned into what? Dystopia. And this is what is this quote alerting us to. So I have tried to give you enough ideas. This is how I understood the question, and I have tried to give you enough ideas about it. But as you write, when you are writing an essay of 1000 to 12,000 words, right? Everybody will understand, everybody must understand the question right way, but everybody will not understand it the same way. But whatever way you understand, whatever is the trajectory of your idea, based on your understanding as the trajectory of some of the ideas you have thought, you should be writing your essay in 5 paragraphs. In 5 paragraphs, one intro, and fifth will be conclusion. In between 2, 3 and 4, this is the body paragraphs, right. This is the core of the essay. These 2 are cosmetic paragraphs, cosmetics. You know what cosmetics do? They enhance the beauty. So introduction enhances the beauty of your essay, so does the conclusion, right. But the core is not there. The core is the body. This is the core. So whatever I told you, based on whatever I told you, or based on whatever you understand the trajectory of your thoughts, you know, think of 3 main ideas for each of these body paragraphs, at least 3 ideas, right. And what you see, the way I amplified the statement to you, you must have realized that I was trying to you know, give you examples. So you give main idea, if you have, you can also give, as you develop, as you explain, you can also bring in some subsidiary idea, right. So whether you bring the subsidiary idea or not, if you bring the subsidiary ideas, all the better, but if you don't, that will not really matter. As much will matter you bringing examples, right. So based on those things, you develop the body paragraph, okay. So when you have main ideas in mind, you can have the thesis statement in your mind about the essay, which you put which you place in the last sentence of the first paragraph. How you begin here? As you understand it, then you clarify your understanding to the reader. After doing that, you place the thesis statement. Thesis statement comes from where? From the main ideas that you have in your mind, combine them together, that will be the thesis statement, right. And after you have written the essay, very simple thing I am telling you. So this is paragraph number 4. So you just give 1 sentence gist of everything, but you begin like this: 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, and then come to 1. So 1 is introduction, right. And introduction, what is the important thing? That is the thesis statement, right. So you simply now rephrase those main ideas in a reverse order, not in a reverse order. Why? Because your 4th paragraph ends here, right. So you, yeah, linking, for the purpose of linking you begin, and then you go in reverse order. You give a gist here, gist here, gist here, gist here, and then you restate the thesis, and your conclusion is done. So your examiner, when he or she reads the essay, even if the examiner reads it too fast, will be able to see what you have done there in the essay, so that when the marking is done, you know, no injustice, there is no chance of injustice being done to you, right. So that is the way you should do it. Now I check up the second question. I go back to the second question. Look at the second question now. The second question is, the empires of the future will be the empires of the mind. If you are a student of history, you should know, even if you don't know, that does not matter. But if you know, all the better, because if you know this, then you come to know the context in a much better way. It was Winston Churchill who gave this statement. But if you know, as I said, you know, if you know that who gave this statement, very good. But if you don't know, that also does not matter. Very good. Why? Because if you know who gave this statement, then you can, you know, when was he the Prime Minister of Britain? Right. And at that time, what was happening to the British Empire? Was crumbling everywhere, most importantly in India, right. He was very much cognizant of the fact that Britain is now will no longer be able to maintain the empire, and they then understood it, right. So he gave this statement, the empires of the future will be the empires of the mind. So what was the British model of the empire? Go there physically, right, physical power over the land, what they call settler. In most of the places they settle, that is called settler colonialism. In some of the places they went but did not settle but controlled them, like India, it is called non-settler colonialism. But the common thing in both is that they physically went to colonize. Now he realizes that this physical colonization is now no longer feasible, but that does not mean that colonization will end, right. Colonization will remain, but it will be empires of the mind. It will be the mind. It will be the mind that will create empire of the future. No, not exactly neocolonialism, little bit I am coming to that. Empires of the mind. How the Britisher, it was the gunpowder, बंदूक, गोली बंदूक से एम्पायर बनाया था ना, अब गोली बंदूक गन पाउडर से नहीं बनेगा, अब दिमाग से बनेगा, राइट. सो दिस एम्पायर of the mind means what? There is a shift here, shift from military force and territorial expansion to knowledge, innovation and intellectual power of intellect, intellectual prowess shift. So this statement tells us about that shift. Okay. Now if you look at America today, do you think America is such a powerful country only because of the Pentagon? Do you think Pentagon plays a greater role in America being the current? America is virtually a neo-colonial power, but America is the greatest of the neo-colonial power today. Is it because merely of the Pentagon? The Pentagon does play a role, but it is not just the Pentagon. It's what? It's the R&D, the mind, empires of the mind. You know, the research, cutting edge research that happens in, that takes place in that country. It is because of that. Okay. So look at India today. Militarily, India is far behind both USA and Russia. Is also little behind China militarily wise. But recently, you know, China retreated from the 4 places in Ladakh. How come? Where did India's power come from? It is India's soft power. Okay. So you have hard power through which the British had, the West had, most notably the British had built the empire. But now, in today's time, for Winston Churchill, then future, and even today, you know, for future too, how will they maintain this neo-colonial power? Through intellectual prowess, right? And this is what gives India that soft power. Okay. There is hardly any technology where India is not almost catching up with the rest of the world, and in some we are leaders. In some we are leaders. For example, in IT technology we are leaders. In digital ट्रांजैक्शंस, मोबाइल बैंकिंग, हमारे इंडिया के जैसा मोबाइल बैंकिंग इतना इजी सिस्टम कहीं नहीं है यूपीआई जैसा। ये बहुत बड़ा पावर दिया है इंडिया को। कल यदि डी डॉलराइजेशन होगा, जिसका चांसेस बहुत हाई है, उसमें उसका रोल बहुत होगा यूपीआई का। तो दिस इज व्हाट दिस स्टेटमेंट टेल्स अस टुडे। यू नो, एप्पल, फेसबुक, टेस्ला, दिस एआई टेक्नोलॉजी, ये सब जो आ रहा है, that gives a lot of power to those companies and the country where those companies are situated, gives them a lot of power. वो हमको colonize करता है उसके through, है ना? So this is recently हमने सुना कि अमेरिका रेजिम चेंज करा रहा था भारत में, एलिगेशन, and much of that, if that allegation is true and if America was really up to doing that, so America tried to do that through what? Through Facebook, through social media platforms which are monopolized by the USA, right? So आप समझ लीजिए, अब मिलिट्री भेजने की जरूरत नहीं है। America doesn't have to send military to India or to any other country. They can do it through their innovations, right? अभी अब भी हजारों हजार हिजबुल्लाह को मार दिया इजराइल ने लेबनान में। आपको क्या लगता है मिलिट्री भेज के मारा उसको? नहीं नहीं नहीं, राइट? दैट टेक्नोलॉजी में, वो टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करके मार दिया, उसमें इंटरफेयर करके। ओके, सो वी मूव नाउ टू द थर्ड ऐसे। अब हम थर्ड ऐसे में चलते हैं, which is there is no path to happiness, happiness is the path. अरे मैड रेस है, टुडे इज मैड रेस। हम लोग पागलों की तरह चलते हैं, सक्सेस पाना है, सक्सेस पाना है, सक्सेस पाना है। अब तुम विद्यार्थी लोग घर बार छोड़ करके लगे हो किसी तरह से आईएएस बनना है, आईएएस बनना है, ठीक है? और आईएएस बन गए तो जाहिर बात है तुमको हैप्पीनेस होगा, ठीक है? परंतु बट व्हाट इज दिस स्टेटमेंट सेइंग? ये स्टेटमेंट हमको क्या बताता है? हैप्पीनेस इज द पाथ। आईएएस बन के ही तुम हैप्पी रहोगे भैया, ऐसी बात नहीं है। उसके बाद भी तुम अनहैप्पी रह सकते हो। सो आईएएस के रास्ते से ज्यादा उस पर नहीं चलो, वो ये बात ही नहीं कह रहा है। उस पर ज्यादा चलने के बजाय किस पर ज्यादा चलो? खुश होने के रास्ते पर, हैप्पीनेस के रास्ते पर। व्हाट कैन मेक यू हैप्पी, राइट? और हैप्पीनेस बेसिकली क्या है? टेल मी, व्हाट इज हैप्पीनेस? यस, it is a very subjective term. I know it. America does not come very high in happiness index. Bhutan is the country which is number 1 in happiness index. If you look at Bhutan and you compare that to America, right? तो हैप्पीनेस के रास्ते पर चल के यदि कोई हैप्पी होता तो अमेरिकन जैसा हैप्पी तो कोई नहीं होता। सबसे ज्यादा डिप्रेशन अमेरिकन को ही होता है, ठीक है? साइकियाट्रिस्ट जितना पैसा अमेरिका में कमाता कहीं नहीं, भूटान में देयर विल हार्डली बी एनी साइकियाट्रिस्ट, ठीक है? तो हैप्पीनेस इज ए स्टेट ऑफ माइंड, राइट? सो इफ इट इज ए स्टेट ऑफ माइंड, हाउ, किस रास्ते पर चल के होगा? तो माइंडफुलनेस। You must walk on the path of mindfulness. So this is what is this statement telling us. Happiness is not a state, it is a state of being, it is not a destination. Or so shift, the statement is asking for a shift in perspective. Happiness is not a future. हम कल को IAS हो जाएंगे तो बाप बाबा कितनी खुशी होगी, माँ बाप भी कितने खुश होंगे. That is not what is happiness. Happiness is not a future achievement. It is an ongoing thing. You should live in the present. इसलिए हमारे उसमें बोला है ना गीता में, कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. कर्म करो, फल की प्रतीक्षा मत करो, है ना. Live in the present. And do not be too attached to the past and do not be too attached to the future also. Live the present moment and live in the present moment doing the thing the right way, and that is what will give you happiness. सम्यक विचार रखो, सम्यक काम करो और प्रेजेंट में करो, खुशी उसी से मिलेगी. So seeking more than external happiness versus internal happiness, right? So you should be walking on the path of external happiness, or you should be trying to cultivate internal happiness. The answer is you should be trying to cultivate internal happiness. This is what it says, because you see, material gains, whatever material gains you have, today you may be going to your IAS institute on foot, you may be walking. Tomorrow you may have a cycle. Again, after some days you may have a motorbike, you may have a car, and everybody will think that look how happy he is traveling to his IAS institute by car. But if they have conversation with you, they will come to know that no, you are actually aspiring for a helicopter. Right? When you have helicopter, you will be aspiring for even more. So there is no end to attachment to material things, right? So attachment to material things is not the path to happiness. Okay, try to detach yourself from that, but detachment doesn't mean that you should be leading completely a renunciatory life. It doesn't mean that. Don't go bullish about those things, because if you become very bullish about those things, then you will really not be happy. Okay, you must understand that joy is just a journey, it's not the destination. Okay, and you should forever be walking on its path. More than externally, you should be walking on that path internally. So we now move to but before we move to another topic, let me tell you one thing I just remembered, is this: learn to be thankful. Learn to be thankful for the little things that happen to your life. If something happens to you due to yourself, thank God, thank yourself. Through others, thank that person. Okay, this paying gratitude is real sense of joy, real sense of happiness. So we have to cover the topics, other topics too. So let's now move to the fourth one. The doubter is a true man of science. Okay, what do you think? The development of science that has happened, this has happened because of in what you say inquisitiveness. Is actually inquisitiveness leads us to questioning, right? And most of the questionings come from doubt, skepticism. So what this tells us is that doubt in the mind of man, the skepticism on the part of man generates scientific achievements, leads to scientific discoveries. But here you must differentiate between skepticism and cynicism. Which of the two is a negative word? Cynicism is a negative word, right? Like for most of us are very cynical about women in India, very cynical about because of the patriarchal nature of our society, right? So what it says is that we should not be cynical, we should be skeptical, we should raise doubts over something happening, why something happens. And the greatest example of that is that of Newton. Newton was one day sitting on a mat under an apple tree and the apple fell, right? So he started putting a lot of questions. The first question that came to his mind today looks to be very stupid, because he thought that the apple fell because the human beings who eat the apples, they are living below the tree. Just then a bird dropped, bird ka dropping aaya, right? So then he thought that we do not eat birds' droppings. Therefore, this apple fell not because we human beings are here, right? Might have fallen due to something else. And he started questioning in this manner. Questions after questions came to his mind. Finally he came to the idea that the earth has a gravitational force, right? So entire space science that you see today is built on this Newtonian discovery, right? And what is at the center of this scientific discovery of Newton? Doubt. You think of research, even social science research, all innovations, anything, right? Whether it is hardcore science research or social science research, whatever, it is always doubt or skepticism which leads towards discovery. So this is what this essay tells us, that skepticism is the foundation of science. And we have from India also examples of Charak. Charak was the author of Charak Samhita, and he questioned the then prevailing medical notions in India, and it was this questioning attitude that led to the development of Ayurveda today. There can be numerous example of Albert Einstein, Aryabhatta, numerous examples about this thing, how doubt has led to scientific discoveries. But another way to look at doubt is through an antonym, and that antonym of that doubt, skepticism or doubt is the synonym, but the antonym is a dogma. That is the dogma. When you are doubtful, it's a good thing because it leads to scientific discovery. But if you become dogmatic, right, you will become smug. SMUG. You will become smug, and that will, water will remain stagnant. Things will not improve if you become dogmatic. Dogma is the enemy of science. If doubt is the mother of science, dogma is the enemy of science. Right? Let's now, even doubt can be of two types. Doubt can be constructive, doubt can be destructive. So, destructive doubts will only kill your time. It will only kill your time. Okay. You should have constructive doubts. Newton had constructive doubt which led him to the theory of the gravitational force. So, suppose if he did not have constructive doubts, then what would happen? What would happen is that, he could have killed so much of time before he could have hit upon anything substantial. Okay, so now we move to the second section. This is the question number 5 to 8, is the second section of the GS paper. Question number 5, social media is triggering fear of missing out amongst the youth, precipitating depression and loneliness. So, I think you people must be knowing the short form of fear of missing out. FOMO, very familiar word for you. FOMO. FOMO. Right. So, social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc., 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 right. Do these digital platforms, social media digital platforms, give you real view of life or idealized view of life? Right. So, the idea of life that the social media sites give you are far from reality. They are idealized. When I was a high school student and was like anybody else watching Bollywood films, I had this impression that Bombay must be, where the Bollywood studio is, must be the, it must be like a, what do you say, most, modern, ultra modern, developed city. And when I was 19 years old, first year college student, I had the opportunity to visit Bombay on All India tour, and I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed to see the city. Why I was disappointed? Because I could not find it, right, the idealized view of the city that the Bollywood films had given me. This is why I was disappointed. So what I am trying to tell you is that social media does not give us an idealized view of things on the one hand, and on the other hand, real idea of things, it only gives idealized. On the other hand, what it does is, it makes those sites makes you feel. For example, I am a professor, a trainer. Just yesterday for this institute, I wrote 2 essays and posted it on Telegram, right? And after the work, when I went home, I was like trying to see how many people have liked it, how many people have seen it, right? And that gives you what? That gives you a feeling of happiness, a feeling of power, right? But again, suppose it says it has 10,000 hits. Does that really mean that 10,000 people have liked, have really read it? No. Okay, some might have just clicked it, downloaded it, right? So even the feeling, what I am trying to tell you is that even the feeling that those social media sites give you, that is also not what? Real. That is also not real. But we become what? We become hooked. We are all addicted to our mobile phones. A decade back we were addicted to television, right? Now we are addicted to mobile phones in this era of Android phones, right? We are addicted to mobile phones, and what has that done? There is a word. This word is estrangement. So you go to the park with your girlfriend, right? You should be spending time with her, or she should be spending time with you, but you hardly spend time together. You are on your mobile, she is on her mobile, okay? She is browsing through the the websites, you are also doing the same thing. So what happens? Even if you are together, you are far away, far apart, right? So what happens? What happens is that today, because of the social media, even after living together, despite the fact that you are living together, you are leading actually a lonely life. And over a period of time, what happens? Those social media platforms will no longer give you the amount of happiness that you had previously been getting from those social media platforms, because what really we as human beings like is words of appreciation, words of sympathy from our near and dear ones. So once we become separated from them, even despite living amidst them, what happens is that we suffer loneliness, and which eventually leads to depression. So this is what this topic, social media is triggering fear of missing out. Oh my God, this thing was scheduled to come at that time live, I missed it. You have the fear of that FOMO, because you think that that is what is the most important thing for you. This is particularly a phenomenon among the youth, but as I explained to you just now, what that actually implicitly not explicitly, implicitly leads to is it creates loneliness, which precipitates depression. Okay, we now move to, but important I think thing that I used here, a phrase, is curated lives. Social media gives an idea of curated lives, which is idealized, far from reality. Next is this: nearly all men can understand adversity, but to test the character give him power. Good. So, how do you overcome adversity? Tell me, what is the one thing that you must demonstrate when you have to overcome adversity? That is resilience. The key word is resilience. It is through resilience that we overcome any adversity, right? So, adversity tests our character in a way, because it brings our resilience into prominence, into the limelight. But that is not how your character will be tested. The real test of your character is to give you power. If you are in an adverse situation which you overcome, suppose through the exhibition of resilience, patience and perseverance, that's not how your true character is tested. Your true character will be tested if you are given power. You must remember a phrase: nothing corrupts as much as power, that too absolute power, right? So, let me make this idea clear to you through an incident in the Mahabharata. When the Pandavas, they were in the 13th, towards the last of their life of exile, Yaksha decided to test them. Okay. So, under the maya of Yaksha, what happened was that it was a very hot day. The Pandavas were hunting deer, they could not find any, and because it was very, very hot, so they got thirsty. So, Yudhishthir told the youngest one, go and bring water, because we are all badly thirsty. The youngest one, Nakul or Sahadev, went, didn't come back. Then he sent the next one, he also went, didn't come back. Then he sent Bhim also went, didn't come back. Then Arjun also did not come back. Then finally Yudhishthir himself went in search of water, and soon he reached a pool. This pool was enchanted, and what he saw was that all his 4 brothers were lying dead. So, first of all, he became very grief stricken to see his brothers being dead, but because he was also very thirsty, so after expressing grief, he wanted to drink water, right? And when he tried to drink the water, there was an Akashvani. This pool belongs to me, and you can use the water, but only after answering my questions. Okay. So Yudhishthir said, what Yudhishthir said I will talk about later. First of all, what had happened to the 4 brothers you must know. So when the youngest 2 brothers went, they ignored the advice, and because they were very thirsty, they wanted to drink by ignoring the advice, and they fainted. Okay, they were made to faint. कौन दुष्ट हमारे दोनों भाई को मारा है, और वो हवा में 4-5 बार गदा ऐसे ऐसे चलाया, right? And then he also tried to drink water, and he got the Akashvani, and जो आकाशवाणी आ रहा था बोला कि मेरे प्रश्न का जवाब दो, तुम्हारा 2 भाई ने नहीं दिया था, हमने मार दिया उसको, तुमको भी मारे, तुम हमको मारेगा, because he was so, he thought that he is very powerful, right? So he showed arrogance of power, and what happened was that he also presumably died without drinking the water. Arjun showed even much greater arrogance. अर्जुन को था हमारे जैसा तो धनुर्धर कोई है नहीं, so he showed even much greater arrogance of power. So that arrogance of power led to the brother of the seeming demise of the 2 brothers. वो दोनों तो ऐसे मार दिया था उसको, ये दोनों में वो पावर के कारण से. But when now Yudhishthir came, he very humbly and politely answered, I am very thirsty, so please go ahead with your questions. If I will answer them, I will drink the water, otherwise I will not. Right? Then the Yaksha asked him some questions, 5-6 questions. He answered all of them very correctly, and he was very humble all through. No arrogance of being a prince or something like that. Then the Yaksha appeared in human form, and he revived all the 4 brothers and allowed them to drink water, and also gave them a blessing कि तुम लोग जब छद्म भेष में जाओगे तो आशीर्वाद है, तुमको वो लोग पहचान नहीं पाए, मतलब दुर्योधन लोग पहचान नहीं पाएगा. Right? So this is the anecdote that I have shared with you. What is this telling you? What this tells us is that if you have power, we misuse power in 2 ways. One, we abuse power by being corrupt, but we also abuse power by being very arrogant. If you are very arrogant about your power, that is also that also reveals your character, but reveals your character in a negative light. So to test the character, this statement tells us that to test the character, give a man power. Arjuna had power, Bhima had power, but they could not pass the test of the Yaksha. Right? In adversity, most of the people will show his or her resilience. We human beings are cut out that way, that whenever we have adversity, most of us show resilience to get through the adversity. So that is not the true test of our character. The true test of our character is really when we are given power, because in the exercise of power we can abuse it in clearly 2 ways: by being corrupt or by being very arrogant. So this is what 2 words you should keep in mind: corruption and hubris. So corruption and hubris, corruption and hubris. If these are the negative things, what can be the 2 positive words? Compassion, humility and compassion, right? Humility and compassion, especially when you display these characteristics, when you have power, that is the real integrity of human being. That's the real integrity of human beings. So our real integrity is manifested not in the test of adversity, but in the test of power. This is what this statement means. We now move to other one, this one. All ideas having large consequences are always simple. Okay. What do you think Mahatma Gandhi means when he says simple living, I think? What do you think? What do you think he means when he says this? This statement is attributed to him, simple living, high thinking. Correct? So what do you think he means by that? High thinking, no, high thinking. Simplicity leads to excellence, heights. Simple living is a way to high living. So, in another word, we can say simplicity is the foundation of what? Simplicity is the foundation of excellence. Okay, just look at, we previously talked about Newton. So what do you think? Newton's idea, doesn't it, the earth acting like a magnet, don't you think it is a very simple idea? Simple. But look how this idea has contributed to this massive advancement in space technology, space science. So basically what this statement means, all ideas having large consequences. So space science is the large consequence, which is based on the simple idea of the Newtonian law of gravitation. Very simple idea. Okay, look at these days, the modern forms of transportation. We have also access to the, the entire universe, the cosmos, through rockets. But don't you think that is based on the simple idea of the wheel? The wheel through which bullocks, the wheels which the bullocks were pulling, the wheel which was fitted in a cycle, leading to motorcycle, leading to car, and finally to all the sophisticated, right. So this is what this means. Even, simplicity, the power of simplicity has led to great socio-political movements. Look at Gandhi, Satyagraha, non-violence. Through these simple things, he was able to achieve such a big thing, the ouster of the British from India, right? So that is also true of Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Very good. And also, what kind of professors you like better? those who come to your class and deliver very complex and obscure pedantic lectures, or those whose ideas are very simple and are able to convey those ideas in a very simple way to you. Second one, right? So this simplicity, when things are said in a simple way, focus is mentioned. You will be able to maintain focus, and your readers, your audience will also be able to see that focus. So for clarity and focus also, this simplicity is very important. Today internet looks such a big thing, but do you know, this is built on very simple idea of connecting a few computers together. The entire cyber world is built on the simple idea of connecting computers. Such a complex thing originating from such a simple thinking. Computers can be connected together, right? So simple ideas truly have the largest consequences if simple ideas have focus, are easy to understand, are easy to be communicated well. Things can be easily built upon those things. So now we come to the very last one. The cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. The cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. So just think in your mind, what is this statement trying to say in very simple way? It is trying to say the importance of action over inaction. Don't you think so? It is telling us that action. Cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. Doing nothing is inaction, right? So if that cost is inaction, what will be the fruit? The fruit will be action. But what prevents us from action? What prevents us from action that leads to inaction? It is the fear of being wrong. It is the fear of being wrong, or it is the fear of being failure. I will be wrong, I cannot do it, I will fail. That fear prevents you from procrastinating. You procrastinate, I write this word, procrastinate. Procrastinate means you want to do something, but you postpone it, put off doing it. You keep on postponing it. Why do you postpone doing it? Because you think, oh my God, I may be wrong, maybe I'll fail, right? This is why you do that. But tell me this thing, if you really think that you will not be able to do something, will you be able to do that thing ever? Never. Better you become wrong, better you make mistakes, because it is through trial and error that you can achieve what? Success, right? Your action will fructify eventually. If you keep on, better do wrong thing once, twice, thrice, but keep on doing, and the right thing will eventually कम योर वे, राइट। तो ये चीज है, नहीं तो क्या होगा, व्हाट इज द रिस्क, व्हाट इज द ग्रेटेस्ट डेंजर ऑफ रिस्क ऑफ प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन। देखिए, मैं जिस प्रोफेशन से हूं, मैं ये आया हूं एकेडेमिया से, तो हमारे प्रोफेशन में होता है क्या कि आपको रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स लिखना है, लेकिन अच्छे अच्छे जर्नल में पब्लिश कराने के लिए वो पीयर रिव्यू कमेंट आता है। तो बहुत लोग देखिएगा वो इस डर से नहीं लिखेंगे कि बाप रे बाप रिव्यू अच्छा नहीं आएगा, रिव्यूअर ने रिजेक्ट कर देगा, ठीक है। अरे रिव्यूअर एक बार रिजेक्ट करेगा, कोई कारण से करेगा ना, आप उस कारण को ठीक कीजिए, ठीक है, एक बार ठीक कीजिए, दो बार ठीक कीजिए, इवेंचुअली ठीक हो जाएगा, आपका पब्लिश हो जाएगा। बट इफ यू फियर दैट आई विल नॉट डू बिकॉज यू नो आई विल फेल और इट विल बी रॉन्ग, तो क्या होगा, आप डेड वुड हो जाएगा। एज ए प्रोफेसर यू विल बिकम अ डेड वुड। यदि मैं दूसरा मेटाफोर करूं तो पानी पोखर में जब पानी बाहर से नहीं आएगा तो पानी क्या होगा, स्टैग्नेट हो जाएगा। सो यू विल स्टैग्नेट, दिस इज व्हाट विल हैपन। ओके, सो दिस इज व्हाट इट इज सेइंग। हाँ, इसको जब हम वो करते हैं तो अब मुझे बताइए, haven't you so far haven't you seen scientists getting things right just in the first go? Haven't large amount of scientific discoveries come through trial and error, right? So what is the psychological impact of all this? What is the psychological impact of inaction? आप सोचिएगा, ओहो अभी मैं आईएएस का तैयारी कर रहा हूं, काश मैं हाई स्कूल के समय में इस सब्जेक्ट को थोड़ा ऐसे पढ़ा होता, राइट? डोंट यू थिंक यू हैव अ फीलिंग लाइक दैट? सो व्हाट डज having a feeling like that means? You are actually regretting over your inaction. You are actually regretting over your inaction. Okay, so the cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. So this psychological impact will be material impact तो होगा ही, but more than that will be the psychological impact. So I think I have taken much of time. I was supposed to finish it by 4:45, it's 4:48, but I think I just got the questions 1 hour before I came to this class, and I have explained, fleshed out the essay topics and made things clear to you, and also I briefly told you how you should write your essay in 5 paragraphs, right? Thing only is that the mantra is this, 3 mantra you keep in mind. Mantra number 1 is that try to understand the question, right? Once you have understood the question, then think of the ideas by which you will develop the essay, and you should have at least 3 ideas with plenty of examples, right? Based on those ideas, hit upon a thesis statement. You become very clear about your thesis statement, right? Then you start writing. Okay, do not start writing essay without thinking about planning your essay beforehand. And another mantra is this: don't think that the amount of ideas that you have, based on that you will not be able to write a good essay. You will be able to write a very good essay based on those ideas if your presentation is right. What does that presentation mean? Presentation means fluency of thought. Fluency of thought comes from two, three things. One is right word for the right idea. Another is cohesion of ideas. One idea should lead to another idea in a very logical way. And third is use of proper transitions. If these things you are able to achieve, you will have fluency, right? And then just give the final cosmetic touch, right? As you have to meet somebody, what do? Don't you do something extra cosmetically? So just do those things that you first of all in the introduction and in the conclusion, you first of all clarify the topic as you have understood it, then explain it in a 1 or 2 sentence, give the thesis statement, that is it. Then the body part you develop, and as you conclude, go in the reverse way, give the gist of paragraph number 4, 3, 2, then paragraph number 1. What is in the paragraph number 1? That is the thesis statement. So you restate those things in different words, do not copy out the same language, right? At least you do these things, and if you are able to write anywhere between 1000 to 1200 words, you are all set. Thing is, you should trust your own worth and follow the method that I have told you. Thank you very much.